All right, it is 11:45 and I've spent the last hour clearing off and sterilizing both counters because I have 10 pounds of pork that I need to deal with. And it is a lot of pork. So, we're going to see how well this does on the top counter. And boy, do I have a lot of pork. This is a ton of pork. I am just not even kidding. This is so much pork. And I don't have a paper this time because they did not cut it in half. This was the last pork that they had, and they were unwilling to cut this in half. The guy had just taken it out of the freezer and priced it that morning. So, you know what I forgot to do? Take off my jewelry. And the last thing I want to do is dig my hands into that pork and get pork slime all over my watch. All right, so I've got all this pork. I just sliced open my bag. I probably want to wash this again. But we're going to pull this pork out of this. And set it right here. I'm going to throw this away. It's going to be slow to start because I did not get anything ready because I'm going to be making 10 pounds of pork. I'm not entirely sure what all I'm going to do with it yet. I know I'm going to bread some, and I started to get out my deep fryer. In fact, I washed it, but I only have one container of oil, so I'm uncomfortable with that amount. The water, when I washed the deep fryer, and it's a small one, I then tested it to see how much water would fit in it, and it was 51 ounces. The container that I've got is 48 ounces, and I've only got one of them because I've only been to the food pantry. You know, this is the first month I've gone, so I really don't have a lot of oil yet. So I'm going to pan fry some tenderloins, which, you know, whatever. I'm going to wipe this off because this plastic was sitting here. I just, you know, to look at my stove, you'd think, oh, she's filthy. No, just the stove. So here is what I'm going to do. This is 10 pounds, and there's a good chance that it's going to temp out before I get to it. So let's see. I think this is light and this is dark, and we're going to cut it in half. This is also overall a bigger pork loin than what I had the other week, because that one I think was only 4.5 pounds, and this one is closer to 5 pounds. So we're going to do that. Now, what am I going to do with that? So here's what I've got. This is a bread bag. I bought like 200 of these during the pandemic because I was just making an absolute ton of whole day bread and things like that. And this is really all I've got for bags because the pork loin was so expensive I couldn't buy any gallon bags or anything like that. So I've got what I've got, and part of what I got is this bag. So I'm going to put this pork loin in this bread bag. And I'm going to put it back in the fridge so that it doesn't get too hot and start growing things like bacteria. I don't really have a kitchen that's big enough to deal with 10 pounds of pork. But it was not a hard decision to go ahead and buy that pork. because it was $3 a pound. So I'm going to do this, and we're going to start pounding. Well, I'm going to start cutting some pork, see what I got here. So this part of it is the pork chops. So we're going to make a few pork chops. There's one pork chop. Boy, that fat's kind of thick. 2 boneless pork chops. 3 boneless pork chops. And 4 boneless pork chops. And I need to move further down the table because you cannot see what I'm doing. All right, so I've got 4 boneless pork chops, and I'm going to do the same thing with the pork chops that I just did with the other half of the pork loin. I'm going to put the pork chops in a bread bag and stick them in the freezer, because this is all I've got. I did not have the money to get the gallon bags that I would need to do this properly. So we got 4 pork chops, and we're just going to put them in a bread bag. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to knot this and lay it flat in the freezer. I mean, this is really all I can do because this is all I got to put this pork in. Wasn't my original plan, but what can you do? So I'm just going to lay that flat in the freezer to do its thing. Now I want to make some pounded pork. And I think I can do that. I thought this was going to be a lot messier than it's going to be, because I don't have any gallon bags, but I got these bread bags, so I can put my meat in this bread bag and pound it. All right, so I'm going to wash my hands again. Wash. Indiana dialect. When I lived in North Carolina, I did not say the word wash or wash. I said laundry. I have to laundry. I have to go do some laundry. Or I have to do the dishes. Did not say the word wash. Because in Indiana, everything wash related is has an R in it. I was very surprised to find out that the word wash did not have an R in it. So guess I'm just going to cut some of these because this is going to be my pounded pork. All right, just let me know if you can see this. No, I'm kidding. I know you can't talk back. Just making sure you can see me, what I'm doing. So these are going to be the pounded porks. I'm going to trim all the fat off anyway. I don't want it on my pounded pork. But it seems to me like they left too much fat on this. You know, I might be cutting up the wrong end. She said one end was light and one end was dark. Wondering if this isn't the dark end. It doesn't matter. I'm going to pound this pork anyway. She said one side was usually pork roast, which is fine, but I don't have a way to deal with a pork roast. I'll tell you what I'm going to do with this little bit, though. It's got a lot of fat and gristle in it, so I am going to turn it into cubes. And no, I don't go into this with a plan. I mean, I meant to buy, 5 pounds of pork, and here I am with 10, so I did not come into this with any sort of a plan. So I'm going to cube the rest of this, or slice it. I'd say he just took it out of the freezer because it's really, really cold. My fridge isn't this cold. And it's only about 40 degrees outside. So I bet the middle of this was still frozen when I bought it. It is fresh. Let's see how much this is. So I've just got some pork bits here that I can do something with. Let's see how much it is. About 9 ounces of pork right there. So that'll be good for something. All right. I can't believe it's 9 ounces. I didn't realize it was that much, but that's good. I'm going to pull some of this off. So far I've gotten 4 pork chops. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pounded porks is what this is going to be, pounded pork. And 1 chopped pork. So now I'm going to start pounding some pork. These are a little bit smaller than what I was making the other week, but I guess I'm going to pound multiples of these at a time. So they double in size almost when you pound them flat. All right, looks good. So that half of the pork made 4 pork chops, 1 bag of diced pork, 9 ounces, and 7 what are going to be breaded porks. But I'm going to grab another couple of bags because I'm going to put these porks in this bag, and then I'm going to deal with the other half of the pork. And I'm going to put these in the refrigerator. And now I'm going to deal with this half of the pork. This might be the white side, yep. I think that was the roast side that I just did. So we're going to deal with the other half of this pork. And I'll probably do the same thing. Make 4 pork chops. So I think I will make 4 pork chops just right off the bat. That almost looks like bacon. All right. Let's see here. I bet it'll stand up. All right, there we go. All right, so we want to make some this end and make some more cubed pork. Oh, this is definitely dark. That is definitely dark meat. All right, so I'm going to make some more cubed pork out of this little bit. This would almost be good for stews. This is so fatty. I doubt this is going to be as much. This is all fat. This is a big chunk of, I don't know if you call it gristle or what. That's a lot of cubed pork. I'm going to make a little more. Okay, so there's 6 ounces in that bag. And now I will, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. This is kind of obnoxious. This must be the pork roast part of this. Well, I think this cannot be pounded. It has to be, it's going to have to be fried. All right, yeah, I think that's what's going to have to happen. So I got 8 pork chops, 2 cubed porks, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 miscellaneous things. Hopefully I'll be able to afford some better bags later in the week, but sometimes you gotta work with what you got. So I got 8 pork chops out of this. It's not bad. All right, I have cleaned the table once again. I'm getting ready to bread those porks that I pounded. And I've got a container of panko. So, put about half that container right here. And I need some milk and the pork that I pounded. Now, I'm not going to use too much milk in this. I just don't have a lot left, and I really, really need it for my coffee. The milk was something I wanted to get more of when I went to harvest. So, I've got the same setup that I had for the chicken fried steaks. So, I've got the flour, the breadcrumbs, the milk, whoops, which I forgot to spice. Forgot to spice this stuff. This is chili powder. This is garlic powder. This is onion powder. I bought this pepper that I'm about to use a couple weeks ago thinking my other pepper would run out, but it hasn't. And now I lost it, so I guess I'll just open this one. It says gourmet ground pepper. I freaking doubt it. Alright, and I think we'll put some cayenne pepper in here. There we go. This is just an incredible amount of pork that I have dealt with this afternoon. So, I'll just pull me a pork out, dip it in the milk. Oops. I'll let it sit in the milk while I wash my hands again and mix up the spices. Alright, so the spices are mixed in. I'm sure I put plenty of spices in there. I'm going to pull my little pork out of the bowl. Dip it in my flour. Make sure you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, the only thing you can't see is my milk bowl. And now you kind of can. All right. I'm going to cover this with flour. And we're going to dip it back into the milk. Then we're going to put it in the breadcrumbs. And that's different than I did it last time. I didn't have any breadcrumbs. So I only used flour. And we'll get another little pork. And put it in the milk. And this is just straight milk. There's nothing else in it. And cover it all with flour. And dip it back in the milk. Then put it in the breadcrumbs. And I didn't have any money for paper plates or anything like that either. I really wasn't expecting to have to buy the whole pork loin. I mean, it'll work out in the end because this gives me a lot of meat. And I'll show you just how much when I get done. Now, you go in there. The panko. My panko and flour are kind of getting intermixed. I don't really mind that. Just the way I have to do it. I have to put it on this foil. I want to make sure their panko is everywhere on your little pork. There we go. I left my pan on the burner without putting the oil in it. So I was drying out my pan and making sure it was clean. And I started doing the pork tenderloins. So, fix this. I gotta put my oil in the pan. It's just vegetable oil. I got it from the food pantry. I'll show it to you. This is that oil I got from the food pantry. And it's just vegetable oil. Normally I would use something but I really can't afford it. And it looks like this food pantry thing is going to go on a lot longer than I really want. Because this place thinks they deserve an extra $100 a month, and they provide exactly 0 services. So let that one sink in. And they don't let you do anything outside either. You're renting the ground, but you can't do anything out there except mow it for them. So yeah, screw that one. That's also part of the reason I got all this pork. I don't really know what things are going to look like in the future. I mean, it could be things get dramatically better, which would be great, but it's not really how my life works. Normally, I get 90% of what I need and nothing I want. If I could move, I would be out of here. But there's no way I'm raising $7,000 or $8,000 in the next 30 days. It is not going to happen. Okay, I made more of these than I thought. How many more of these do I have, too? Alright, and I gotta get more breadcrumbs again. Alright, let's do it. It took most of the container of breadcrumbs to do these. But not all of it. I did make a lot more of that one. Really did make a lot more of this. A lot more of these little porks than I thought. There's always one that doesn't get enough breadcrumbs. All right, I have the first one in. It's bubbling away. This would not have been possible had I not started getting food from the food pantry. Because there's no possible way I could have afforded oil this week. And it took half a thing of oil. There's the first one. It's done. It's not going to be as dark as the rest of them because this was mostly flour. And the second one is cooking in there. There's 2 of them. I got the third one cooking. So here is everything I made out of that 10 pounds of pork loin. These are 8 tenderloins. These are breaded tenderloins. You make sandwiches out of them. I have 8 pork chops. I have a pound of chopped pork right there, and I have 5. I have no ideas. But this is 8, 16, 25 meals. I think it's about 25 meals I've got here in pork. That's amazing. All right, if you liked this video, please like and subscribe, and I will talk to you later.